Gambit Media.
This video looks at the basics of lighting with a few key terms and some cheap equipment tips. There are 4 essential points to consider when lighting a scene: intensity or power, the type, hard or soft light, position and location, and colour or temperature of light. We're not going to look at colour today, but we might look at that in another series. So let's get started and look at power or intensity. A lot of lights have a wattage, and usually the higher the watts, the more powerful the light. However, now we've got energy saving bulbs which are low wattage, it's more difficult to assess the power of the light in terms of watts. A much better measure would be lumens, and the higher the lumens, the more powerful the light. Now let's look at hard and soft light. Soft light uses a diffuser which breaks up the shadows, and hard light has no diffuser, so the shadows are quite crisp. So let's look at the 2 most common lighting styles, high key and low key. So I'm filming here to try and achieve high key lighting. Now high key lighting is where you use a lot of light and you take away shadows. It's supposed to give a very natural feel. In this spot we've got a lot of available light, and I'm not using any portable lights, but the light is bouncing off all the walls and the shiny floor, and it should give a nice even spread of light and an even distribution of light across my face. Here's a good example of high key lighting which is often used in sitcoms. The shadows are less obvious and it looks nice, clear and natural. The lighting offers a bright, light and happy mood. And this is low key lighting. We've got a lot of shadows and a few highlights, and it usually adds tension or drama to a shot. Another term you might come across is chiaroscuro, and that means the artistic use of low key lighting, and it's the treatment of light and shade. The intensity and power of the light is very important when it comes to low key lighting, because it's the difference between your highlights and your shadows. Therefore you need a powerful light to achieve this. And to make your light more powerful, you can just move it closer. Then there's the difference between hard and soft light. Now soft light uses a diffuser like this, and it's a piece of material that light can pass through, but it breaks up the light. So if I put this over the light now, you should see that the shadows in front of my face, or the other side of my face, are slightly broken up. And when I take it away, we get hard light, and the shadows should be more clear now. For low-key lighting, you generally want a hard light to give those intense shadows. And for high-key lighting, you want nice, soft, diffuse light. Here's a good example of low-key lighting from the thriller film Seven. You can really see a big contrast in mood, as the lighting throughout the film gives a feeling of foreboding tension. And now we're going to look at the positioning of lights, and we're going to look at 3-point lighting. So firstly, here's a shot with all the lights on. 3-point lighting gives a good even distribution of light, and it's the go-to lighting technique. The basic idea is to use 3 lights. First there's the key light, which is the most powerful, often uses hard light, and is the main light in the scene. Here's a shot just using the key light. Secondly, the fill light, which is the next most powerful. This is often a soft light, so in this case we used a diffuser, and it's used to take out the harsh shadows. Here's a shot just using the fill light. The shadows are slightly less crisp. Lastly, there's the backlight. This is the least powerful and is used to separate the subject from the background and give them more depth. And here's a shot just using the backlight. So let's go back to our shot with all 3 lights. As you can see, there's a good amount of light in the scene, not too many shadows, and there's a good amount of depth because of the backlight. Okay, so here are some cheap low-end lighting options. Let's start with the halogen lamp. Now this is just a work light and it's not really meant for video productions or making movies, but it is pretty good. It offers a lot of light. It's about 500 watt, I think, this one. It's very yellow coloured light, very harsh, and it's got no barn doors like this, so you can't control the light. This is a redhead, which offers a similar amount of light to the halogen lamp, but it is meant for filming. It's the most expensive of the lot we've got here, There are some cheap ones out there and there's some more expensive ones. The more expensive ones will last longer. The bulbs especially tend to go on these very quickly because they get very hot. Even these ones, they're fairly expensive ones, and if you knock them whilst you're filming, whilst it's on, then you're likely to blow the bulb. But both of these are similar in terms of output. That's about 500 watts, that's about 800 watts, and they offer a lot of light. The good thing about this, of course, is the barn doors, and you can channel that light and focus that light as you want to. Then we go on to the cool lights. We've got two types here. They've both got diffusers on at the moment, and that's one thing that's more difficult with the redheads, is to diffuse the light. You need to use a big diffuser and keep it far away from the bulb, because it will get very hot. Anything in front, you mustn't touch these barn doors, for example, whilst it's on, because they get really hot and you will burn your fingers. These cool lights have diffusers, and they're all energy saving bulbs, so you get a different temperature of light. You get very sort of yellow coloured light with this, and very cool sort of almost bluey colour with this. And it does make a difference if you're using them together. This is a cheaper option than the redhead, but the more bulbs you have, the more expensive it is, and the more useful it is, to be honest, because that's its way of dimming. So if you want to change the light easily, rather than moving it closer in and further away, which might not suit your scene, you can just turn off one of the lights. You can get other cheaper options, which are like this one. And this is commonly seen on eBay. It's got one bulb in the middle there, a diffuser. It's okay, not bad, but it doesn't offer a lot of light compared to this. You can vary the light. This, the lowest into light, then the next, then you've got the halogen over here, and then the redhead. And trying to use these cool lights, as they're known, because they're energy saving, so they're a bit cooler. With these, it's very difficult because these are much higher output, whereas these won't offer as much in terms of lumens, so you're always going to get problems combining them. It's not that it's impossible, you can do it, but it's just more difficult. The last option then is the reflector. Now I've got a light on here just to sort of show you that these can be very useful indeed. Hopefully you can sort of see this shining against my face here. It's a very dull light there, so it's one of these that I've got turned on over there. So it's not offering a lot, but you can kind of get the idea. A reflector, really useful, particularly if you're filming outside, because on sunny days you can get some fill light, and with this reflector it is interchangeable, and this is one of the cheapest ones for this size I could find on eBay. Very nice, and you can get golden sort of reflections, warmer reflections, or as you can see, as I was talking about earlier, you've got your diffuser as well that you can put in front of lights, or even put in front of the sun to diffuse the shadows from the sun. Here's all the light shown with the same exposure and the same distance from the subject, so you can see the difference in output and intensity. You can probably also see the difference in temperature, which gives a different colour. Some are more bluey coloured, some are more yellow. So that's the basics of lighting, with some cheap equipment ideas, simple techniques, and a few technical terms. Hope this helps.